You know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
That was years ago. Welcome, Kate Dalley Show at your service. I've got Dr. Duke Pesta with me. Always a blast on Monday. And then following Duke, I've got Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. So an interesting day for sure on the radio. And I really appreciate you listening in. And of course, we're live. So the call-in number works. 888-673-1450. 888-673-1450 if you're listening in the afternoon, of course. And from Portland all the way to Mississippi and Alabama. Appreciate you tuning in today. I've got Dr. Duke Pesta first up. And of course, everyone got to hear about the stage 4 cancer, and the left is going, you right, people on the right have no empathy. And now it's a discussion of a cover-up. A cover-up of, is it cancer or is it dementia? And were they covering up the dementia? And did he really have it because it's too late to call it? At this point, he knew he had it. And what about that physician? And so much to talk about as far as what the narratives are, because these are truly the narratives. You're never supposed to talk about the fact that the election was handed to him in front of the entire nation and world. And election fraud. Don't have that discussion. Only have the discussion cancer or dementia. How are you, Dr. Duke Pesta?
I am good, and I'm annoyed by all this rhetoric from the left. Yeah, it's absolutely true, Kate, that a number of years ago, going back to even before he was president, he talked about Biden, that he had cancer.
Yeah.
He didn't get specific.
That was
he
years
didn't
ago.
give any details. He didn't explain it because he knew that that would be a horrible disease. It's not his fault that he has cancer, but it makes you look weak and it makes you question whether you can be president. So he used it for sympathy, but never talked about it. And the idea that somehow just now they're finding out that he has this kind of cancer, you got to be kidding me. When you're the president of the United States, you get looked at all the time. They're looking at you from the top to the bottom.
Yes.
They're thumping and sticking their fingers in every orifice, trying to see how you are. In fact, I would suggest this. Yeah. Given that he was the vice president for 8 years and the president for 4, that his rectum has been more plumbed and studied than anything that you can imagine going back to Obama's bathhouse days. I'm telling you that guy has been looked at inside and out. The idea that now all of a sudden, all those crack doctors for all those years dealing with a geriatric dude, a guy who's got a 70-something-year-old prostate for the last 10 years. There is no way on God's green earth that this just jumped out at them. It's a complete lie. And the reason you're hearing about it now is because he's not president. He's not running for president. And now he needs sympathy because all his lies and dementia has been exposed.
Maybe it was his Make-A-Wish project. I want to be president for 4 years. So the same guy who claimed he was a college professor, invented the internet, corn pop protector, lifeguard, Puerto Rican, grew up in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. He was a truck driver. All the things that he said he was. And it's kind of amazing to hear this come out now, because now the conversation is dialed down to, was it a cover-up? The dementia, it's really just dementia. Is the cancer a cover-up? And then, of course, that's what the two sides are worrying about instead of ever talking about election fraud. We'll never talk about election fraud in this nation again. And I'm sorry, it happened in front of all of our eyes. So you can't not see it. You can't. I just call it cleanup on aisle 5. It's Project Cleanup on aisle 5. No matter how they spin it, even 2020, it's always you didn't see what you saw. And here's the new conversation. They're even doing it in my state right now. We had a Republican nomination for the Republican chair of the party. And it's the same thing over and over again. It's like, look, yes, you saw the people you love in politics support the guy that's the establishment, but don't talk about that anymore. Can we just come together and be friendly? Can we just come together and love each other? And don't see what you saw, clean up on aisle 5. That's what it reminds me of. This is that.
That's right. I think this is a ploy for sympathy.
Yeah.
How do you change the narrative?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because making fun of, he's been crucified, Biden, on the conservative media, the memes, the jokes. I mean, the whole Biden family has become a global joke. It's a punchline.
Yeah.
And the only way they can think to change this now, and Jill is despised every bit as much as he is.
Yes.
And the only way they can change this narrative is to, oh, he's dying, you're all evil. He's dying. Oh, you don't understand how sick he is. But if they were smart, and the Democrats aren't smart about this, they should have said, well, yes, there was some slippage mentally, but he was also battling stage 4, stage 3 prostate cancer. You take ownership of that, right?
Right.
And use that as a way of trying to justify the unjustifiable, what you did.
Right.
But this is just a bit complete. CYA is what this is.
Yeah, but only on Thursday do the Dolphins use umbrellas to open a can of tomatoes. We had 4 years of just the worst clown show of Biden walking off stages and not knowing where he was and the whole 9 yards. But it was a directional tactic. It was, look at this. He's incompetent. He has dementia. Don't look at what they just did to everybody. And it just never ceases to amaze me how they get away with it, though. Right?
Given that he's had his head up his own butt for the last 10 years, I'm surprised he didn't see it himself. But moving beyond that, this is it's change the narrative.
Oh gosh!
Now, anybody who calls him out, right, or the people who abetted him,
right?
Now, how could you do that? He's sick. We've got to rally around him. We've got to offer prayers and good wishes, and we've got to hope. I've heard people say, I hope he gets back to health. He's 82 years old. The idea of getting back to health is not how this works.
Right. Yes. And if you talk about anything but the cancer, you have zero empathy. You're a horrible person. And you never can mention that his uncle was eaten by cannibals again. You can't mention a thing about him because cancer is empathetic. I mean, it's very, you got, oh my gosh, well, that's the new, it's the narrative. It is, you can't talk about anything else. Oh
now they're even saying those times on stage, they're using this excuse of cancer. Yeah. Remember when he would get up and just wander off the set? Now we're being told already by progressive, see, he was sick. He had prostate cancer. He had urgency of bowel, urgency of bladder. Yeah. And so when he's getting up and walking away, it's not cognitive.
Right.
His body is failing him. He needs to get to a toilet, right? And so you basically ignored the dementia and you want to get rid of that because it will let the aides and the leftist media off the hook. It was a body problem, not a mind problem.
Right.
And so he's just looking to find the nearest toilet. And we all should be sympathetic to that, right?
Right.
Maybe they should have put a catheter in. Maybe he should have wore a bag. Who knows? But now notice how they subtly changed the focus that way.
Well, and it's don't look at, I'm sorry to mention this because people don't want to hear this and I get why, but this is one of the strangest parts about his presidency was how 5 different people portraying him looked like completely different people. And it was to the point where if you mentioned it, you were just annihilated for being a conspiracy theorist. Although all you had to do was have eyeballs in the front of your face in the eye sockets to actually I don't know how anyone could not notice it was several different people standing at the podium with totally different facial features that looked really nothing like Joe Biden. And they tried to say that he had a facelift and that he had in his 80s, that he had a facelift and that he had work done. And I just don't know how people believed that. I don't know. I think, they had a lot of pictures of him eating ice cream and there was a lot of weirdness and strangeness. We'll take a quick call, but it was just bizarre. And you weren't allowed to talk about it ever, Hi, caller. Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to get there. It was just bizarre. And I'm going to say that because no one feels like they can say that anymore. And I just remember looking at all of the different faces of Joe Biden, sometimes competent, sometimes not, and going, they're trying to drill into our heads the walk off the stage, not know where he's at narrative as well, because they didn't want anyone talking about election fraud at the time, right? So
the funny thing is, when they got rid of him, if they were smart, or even no, we don't even know how many people knew about his prostate cancer. If they were smart and they weren't so conspiratorial, they could have said he's stepping down because of his prostate cancer. That would have protected him from the allegation, but they were too secretive to do that.
Let's take the caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Hey, Kate. Hey, Dr. Duke. I have an experience with prostate cancer, having been diagnosed with it in 2018
Sorry
through a
about
routine PSA test
that
I've been having 20 years. And my question, or my comment or question is this possibly one of these, quote, turbo cancers that is occurring as a result of the COVID jabs? Because myself, first of all, if you have an annual physical, if you're over 50 and you have an annual physical, you have a PSA test.
Right.
And
common procedure.
The first one that showed elevated ended up, becoming what it was.
Right.
And so I don't believe that it is possible that this came on very, very fast.
You're thinking like turbo from the shots. Thank you.
If he was taking the real shot. Just outside of that, normal routine PSA test would have detected this far before it became evident.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate the comment because, we've been talking a lot about turbo cancers. I'm sure Sherri Tenpenny in the next hour will address that too. But Duke?
Well, and wasn't he vaccinated, 5 or 6 times? And almost every time he got a vaccine, he had COVID, remember, again and again?
Yeah.
So, COVID, all of that.
Whatever that is.
Fake vaccine and the COVID that he got again and again and again. Maybe that it did accelerate things. I don't know. But what he said at the end there is right. A simple test would have told you this.
Well, they do all those tests.
Let alone the kind of way they were looking at his presidential body.
We'll be right back. More with Dr. Duke Pesta. You can call in 888-673-1450 if you're listening in the afternoon. And then in the evening, it's up on X American News. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right. Welcome back. Kate Dalley Show at your service. I've got Dr. Duke Pesta and, of course, a little Aussie for you. Yeah, it is the crazy train. It is in politics anyway. It always has been, always will be. And there we go. See? All right. So make sure and go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. The link is right on my website, katedalleyradio.com. And for ivermectin and fembenzenol, am I saying it right? Fembenzenol, I don't even know. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm the name murderer. I always will be. And you can get those, take them together, and they can get shipped right to your door. You can get any refills on anything, even antibiotics, a Z-Pak or amoxicillin or anything like that, hormones. You can get extra and have it in your arsenal no matter what happens. I think we're going to get more weather events. I really do. They're going to ramp up. Anyways, I'm just saying have enough on hand and use the code KATE10 because you're going to get 10% off anyway. So you get a deal. And allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Use the code KATE10 and you'll be good to go on anything like that you need in the reserve. So, All right. And they're doctor scripts sent to your door, which is awesome. Okay, Dr. Duke Pesta, I'm just shaking my head at this cleanup on aisle 5. I mean, it just never ceases to amaze me how the game is played, right? That direct the conversation anywhere but the truth, and don't see what you saw, and this is what you saw, and now it's dialed down to something other than what it truly is. I mean, I don't think it'll ever surprise me in the future how they play this game, but this game is a huge tactic. So
well, somebody once said that the bigger the lie, the more people believe it. Yeah. And so what are the Democrats doing? They are not reversing course. They are not apologizing, heaven forbid. They're not promising they're going to change. They're just doubling down the lies, right? And one of them we just talked about in the first segment here, that the lie is that his cancer, they're hinting, wink, wink, that the cancer is the reason that he was behaving that way. Now, he's such a brave soldier that he didn't want anybody to know, but you should know that everything you think about Joe Biden is wrong, and now you should feel sorry for him because he sacrificed everything and didn't spend his time fighting his cancer because he was serving the American people.
You know, they have so much disdain for us that they took the guy that only got 6% of the vote of his own party. And Jill had to say, suck it up and vote for him, party. I know you don't like him, but suck it up, because, it was just the worst kind of fraudulent event, because they did it with the worst kind of candidate, just like Hormala, the worst candidates that you could ever get, and tried to parade this around as normal. And I think that I'm going to consistently call it out as what it truly is, and not play their little game of cancer or dementia or cancer. But it is truly amazing to me that they're getting away with this. I don't know what else to say. It's just, it goes to now, like you said, it's the empathy game. How much empathy do you have now to bypass everything you saw and witnessed, and then just go into we have to be respectful because it's cancer? Please.
Well, I mean, two things can be possible. That's for you and me. You and I we're not Democrats. We can multitask, right? Two things can be true.
Yeah.
You can be sympathetic for anybody who suffers cancer.
Sure.
It's a horrible thing. That in no way, shape, or form changes the narrative about Joe Biden. In fact, as you said at the beginning of the opening of the show, it actually makes it worse.
I know.
Because they're still lying to you.
Yeah.
Again, there's no way, given the kind of attention somebody like him gets in the Oval Office, medical attention, there's absolutely no way you can say that this is something new or surprising. You just can't say that. Right. So what we're learning now is that it's not just so that this is the left's strategy. Don't pay attention to our lies about his mental condition. We want you to focus on the lies about his cancer, which we didn't tell you. True, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Yeah, you got it. And then there's little Bruce Springsteen. We have to go to a break, but there's just so much to say today. There's just so much to say. We got to say it all. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. More with Dr. Duke Pesta from The Dr. Duke Show. And of course, all you got to do is Google that. You'll find it fast. The Dr. Duke Show. And we'll be right back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to LUTFstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at LUTFstudio.com.
When justice is done, we'll see the Democrats go. He'd not be there for ballots stolen when late that night they rigged the poles. In battleground states, the lions, they tipped the scales for Joe. Soon may the gentleman come.
Yeah, his crackhead son. And see, you get to forget about all of that in lieu of the cancer. See? Interesting. So welcome back to the show and the Wellerman song, the Biden Wellerman song. So I have Dr. Duke Pesta with me, and there is a great and phenomenal product for cancer, GCMAF. Go check it out. And it's on my website, katedalleyradio.com, as is the remineralization of your teeth. And if you want to know why my teeth are so white, I get comments on that a lot. It's the remineralization product. And so then, of course, their mouthwash, you actually let that sit on your teeth too, because 85% of the diseases start in the mouth. You want to make sure you're remineralizing your teeth right now, and make sure you safeguard yourself, that you have control over. And you can go ahead and get those discounts on those products by just going to the website, katedalleyradio.com. And I'm so glad to offer those things to you. All right. So Dr. Duke Pesta, Springsteen. You want to talk about Springsteen?
I mean, first of all, and I can't help but remark, when did he start looking like a lesbian? I mean, seriously, if you get a chance to look at Bruce at 75,
it's true.
It's all the surgery. I mean, this is the guy who was the epitome of masculinity in the 1980s. Remember?
Yes.
He wore his kerchief hanging out of the back of his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
We got a chance to look at his little round butt, and he was strutting around on stage, and he was all, unwashed and all the 5 o'clock shadow. He was singing about all those masculine themes. Mm-hmm. And now he's literally become an angry lesbian. So we got that going for him. Number two, I mean, here's what he had to say about America, right?
Okay.
Notice he didn't do it in his American bits so much, but he's in England, right?
Right.
And so at his concert last night in Manchester, he said, quote, "In my home, the America I love, the America I've written about, that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years, is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration. Tonight, we ask all who believe in democracy and the best of our American experiment to rise with us and raise your voices." Now, this absolutely blows me away. So it's amazing that when Republicans in office, suddenly Democrats now realize there's such a thing as treason, right?
Yeah.
It's not possible when you're opening the border to 20 million people. It's not treason to bailing on Afghanistan and leave billions of weapons in the hands of the Taliban. That's not treason. Oh, no, no. Treason only happens when you lower inflation, close the border, try to make peace in the Middle East, right? All those horrible things that Republicans do. So apparently, like racism and gender-affirming care and the Obama healthcare program being called what it is, the lies about this, is what the left does. They take the names of things and they change them. Seriously now, treason is whatever Republicans do, trying to balance a budget or get rid of waste and fraud. All this now is treason.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, he's been an interesting character the last, I would say, decade and a half. He got his popularity, got his fame, and then all of a sudden he became very political, as they all have. They didn't used to be that way. They always usually separated the music out. But it's turned me off from so many in Hollywood or just like Bruce, these types of singers. Once they start showing their woke capacity, everybody tunes them out, and I'm glad that they do. I'm glad that there's so many people that are just like, oh yeah, you want to talk politics? I don't get my politics from you, Brucey boy. So walk away. It's been interesting to watch for sure. Yeah.
I would also say he sung his most famous songs are about blue collar workers, the downtrodden,
to get popular.
Right. Exactly. So let me ask you, Bruce, who did all those people you write about? Who'd they vote for? Not Biden.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All the people who had to stretch their budgets to go see your overpriced concerts in the 70s and the 80s, because you were singing about them. You were talking about their situations, what it's like to be on the bottom of the rung, right?
Yeah.
You got rich on those people. those people who today are voting for the man you're calling a traitor.
Right.
While you sit in your ivory tower with your elitism and your wealth. I remember he did a tour of Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on.
Yes,
he did that crowd, Broadway.
No. His crowd is the Melissa Etheridge crowd.
Yep. And
right.
There's the lesbian, right?
Yes, they all look that way in the crowd. I mean, it is almost hilarious because that's why he had to change his look at everything, because he doesn't appeal to who he was singing about. I mean, it was just a big campaign. We have to talk also about Hillary. This is this is funny, actually. Hillary's got to be in the spotlight.
If you want an exact example of how venal and hypocritical the Democrats
and lesbian,
are, how about this? Now, speaking of lesbians, let's talk about Hillary. That's the theme here, right? Where's Abba? Who was the woman who hung around her all that time?
Right. Yes.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Anyway, so Hillary Clinton. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the two serious Democrat candidates for president in the last 10 years have been women, Hillary Clinton and Kamala. Here's what, and the Democrats, the party of women, apparently, didn't vote in sufficient numbers to elect them. So the party of women, Democrats, can't get a woman elected to president. So what did Hillary Clinton do? Did she say, we need to be better as women? Do we need to be more clear in what we're going to do for other women? We're going to have to be more feminist? No. Like a typical woman a Democrat woman, she takes no responsibility for her own failure. And here's what she's now doing. Rather than examining her own and Kamala's failure to try to figure out how we can be better, now she's warning Republican women. Here's what she said. Hillary Clinton, of course, took a swipe at female Republicans in an interview earlier this month. Here's what she said. Here's the advice feminist Hillary is giving Republican women.
Oh, I can't wait.
First of all, don't be a handmaiden to the patriarchy.
Isn't that what she is? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. You notice how no one ever said that she slept her way to the top? She was never accused of that like Hormala was. But go ahead. Okay, so handmaiden to the patriarchy. Okay.
Well, there's no way that she could have slept her way to the top because Bill was nailing every other woman he could find, right? She's probably the one woman who didn't sleep her way to the top.
Yeah, she was Bill's handler. They were both CIA. It was just so funny. What a weird relationship that was. That's why they don't live together. But okay, so she's warning Republican women not to do what she has done, the patriarchy or the handmaiden to the patriarchy. Is that what it is?
Well, what she's saying is that basically she's conceding that Democrats, the party of women, won't vote for women. So she says she's rather than trying to buck up Democrat women or try to find the next women candidate, she's given up on all that.
They're not going to run with Liz Cheney. I don't understand.
No. And so what she's suggesting, whether she knows it or not, is that only a woman can be elected by Republicans. Right. Here's what she says. First of all, if you get elected, don't be a handmaiden to the patriarchy, which kind of eliminates every woman on the other side of the aisle. So in other words, when one of the reasons that both Kamala and Hillary lost is because they insulted women who were not progressive women. They called them all kinds of names like handmaidens, right?
Right.
So what she's saying, we can't win. We Democrat women can't win. So we're telling you, Republican women, that if you get to become Republicans, president, which it seems to she thinks is possible,
right? You
might become president.
Yeah. And of course, join her coven. Be right back, Kate Dalley Show. It just gets so crazy. The crazy becomes so crazy. We'll be right back, Kate Dalley Show.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Except for Hillary. Do you guys remember when Bill used to say she'd get more women than him? Anyway, had to, Mike. Thank you. So welcome back, and I've got Dr. Duke Pesta with me. In the next hour, Dr. Sherri Tenpenny is visiting me live. So I'm so appreciative of Duke being here. And Duke, they can find your show. Just Google it, right? Dr. Duke Show.
Yeah, just look up the Dr. Duke Show. It's always free wherever you can get free podcasts. And
love it.
Yeah, appreciate
awesome.
your patronage.
Yes. All right. So good old Hill. Handmaiden to whatever coven she's in, and now, and of course, to the patriarchy who gets to tell her whether she got to be president or not. You never really hear her talking about that. That's so funny to me. Right?
This is modern feminism.
Mm-hmm.
You get to run for president without much qualification, and when you lose, you can always blame it on men. That's how
True.
this works, right?
Yes.
And you know, she is especially venal, right? We started this show talking about this. One of the reasons Democrats are in trouble is because they can't even acknowledge their own bad behavior. The media has so shamed Republicans over the years that when they do stupid things, they tend to correct. They tend to they throw people out of their own caucus if they have to, right? Who is that Congressman Santos from New York? We'll throw people out. The left, the dumber and the more venal you become, the more they circle the wagons. The more they do that, and so. I think, you know, the fault lines in the modern media for the first time in a long time, people don't trust the mainstream media, and they're beginning to trust conservative sites, especially online, to tell more of the truth than you get from the left. So they can't now just assume the left has the power to protect them when they lie. And so people like Hillary, they're still living in that world. And when you pay attention to what she's actually saying, like I said, she's basically conceding that for all her talk, her party is not going to elect a female president. It's going to be up to you Republicans. And when you finally win, she says, you got to act like a progressive, not a Republican.
Yeah, she has to keep grabbing the spotlight for herself. That's for sure. She won't just go into her lesbian coven and shut up. So it's been an interesting one to watch her through the years, try to always get the voice and say something ridiculous. And then everybody talks about her, and she stays in the headlines. She's masterful at it. And this is why I believe she was Bill's handler. It was an interesting relationship. If anything, it was just a political relationship. So anyway.
Right. She's smart enough to know that whatever he does, he's still going to look better than her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she played the Tammy Wynette argument, right? That I'm going to stand by my man,
right,
when she was lecturing other women about how men are bad and you don't need a man. Yeah. She sure did, because and look, if I'm Bill Clinton, I'm grateful to her. It doesn't matter how many weird things he does with interns and cigars. He's always going to look better than her, right? Right. It's like the foil thing, right? It's like he could, no matter what he does, people are going to say, oh yeah, but then there's Hillary, right?
Right. She was so nasty. The Secret Service didn't want anything to do with her. I mean, if you had to do something pretty wrong in the Secret Service to get on her detail. By the way, speaking of presidents, 5 years in federal prison if you lie about a president's mental competency under 18 U.S. States Code Section 1001. That's interesting, isn't it? Got to do the cancer thing. I just thought that was just so bizarre. Everything's bizarre. Anything else you've been noticing too? There's eggs. There's all kinds of stuff that we were going to talk about too.
The inflation is coming down. Donald Trump is making progress. Not to say that he's perfect or that everything he's going to try is going to work, but he's taken the flames way down on energy, on the inflation, on groceries, on the Middle East, on a lot of our foreign policy. He's turning down the flame, and that's a good thing. Maybe will it all end correctly? Probably not. But I mean, Biden was like gasoline on every horrible fire in the world. He was just a combustion. Whereas Donald Trump, and when you think about Donald Trump, you don't think about that. He doesn't seem like the guy who's turning it down. He's usually cranking it up. But here, what he's doing is working in a lot of ways. Like I said, we have to wait and see how it all falls out. But the fact that he is addressing the issues that we all knew had to be addressed, I'm not even mentioning the border, right? I mean, he's doing the right thing.
Well, his bill isn't the big, beautiful bill. Yeah. It's going to strip people of land. There's a lot to that bill. It's going to increase the deficit to by $4 trillion. It's pretty horrendous. So what the news is doing is they're saying that it's dialed down to just a couple of Republican factions arguing about it. And it isn't good. I think no matter what the deep state's going to do, what the deep state's going to do, and no matter how they display it in the news, it goes in one direction, and that is government control. And so we're noticing that, and a bunch of other things. But also, there was another power outage, big, huge power outage going on. I think we're going to see more of that this summer. I know that's not good news, but I do feel like they're going to, there's just reasons that there has to be some reasons that they're going in that direction. And you were talking about, no one's really talking about eggs anymore, right? So it's kind of interesting that is, I don't know. There's just a lot that comes in and out of the headline nonsense that we're all supposed to capitalize on. But at the end of the day, you're supposed to just kind of think everything's amazing. I don't know that it's amazing. I think that we have a lot of going on, a lot of issues and a lot of things. But this, of course, will take center stage, the whole Biden cancer thing for sure.
What I said basically about Trump is that not all of it's going to work,
right?
And not all of it's going to be good.
Yeah.
All I'm suggesting is that there were a lot of things blazing, and he has turned down the temperature. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Now, again,
or maybe the media has.
The big, beautiful bill. I'm sure we know it's full of garbage.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it even gets through. Although it will be interesting to see if it's as bad as we think it is, then the Democrats will vote for it, right?
Yes. And by the way, they're saying that the Trump cuts are what's leaving the National Weather Service scrambling to cover vital shifts. And so that's why I was talking about weather events, because they're not, they're using the Trump cuts as the reason that they're not going to be ahead of weather events, because I think a lot of weather events are actually manipulated. But
it's BS. And they still haven't paid any. They still owe, FEMA still owes money that it never paid out for Katrina 20 years ago, right? Yeah. So the Democrats can pretend this is all a Trump issue, but it's obvious to anybody paying attention that they've been dysfunctional for a long time before Trump took over.
Thanks, Duke. Always interested in what you have to say. And of course, I'll be right back with Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. Don't go anywhere. And you're listening to The Kate Dalley Show, and happy about that. Be right back. KateDalleyRadio.com.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Yeah, I played that the first hour too. Interesting, huh? So that is the talk today. It's cancer, and if you say anything else, it's you don't have enough empathy. And of course, it's the dementia cover up versus the cancer. And this clip was actually just a couple of years into the presidency with King Dingaling. So anyway, welcome to the show. And we're going to be covering just a slew of topics. Dr. Sherri Tenpenny is with me, and it's always a pleasure to have Sherri on the show. Really always enjoy her. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you so much,
Excellent.
Kate. I've missed you.
I know, right back at you. I'll tell you what, Sherri is, man, she has been a voice of truth out there, and in a sea of not so many truth tellers. I just love it that she's willing to call it out. You're an osteopathic medical doctor, board certified in osteopathic medicine with proficiency certification in integrative medicine, lectured at Cleveland State University, Case Western Reserve Medical School on various topics in the field of integrative medicine. You've been a speaker at conventions nationally, internationally on a wide range of topics, including breast health and women's hormones, all kinds of things. And of course, the adverse effects on vaccines. And you were outspoken on COVID. You've been outspoken on so many topics, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you through these last few years as well. The new book that she has coming out is Zero Accountability in a Failed System. I love this. What brought you to write this? What was going through your mind?
Well, it actually started a long time ago because, the phase one of this book started a long time ago because I wrote a book in 2005 called Fowl, spelled Fowl, fowl, bird flu. It's not what you think.
Right.
And it's been out of print for quite a while. But when bird flu started to raise its head again, in the summer of 23, one of my staff members found an old copy of the book and read it and said, "Oh, this is so good. You need to just change the title, change the cover, and re-release it." Well, it's 20-year-old information. And yes, it had some good points in it, but so much has happened in the last 20 years. So I reread that book, the book Fowl, and I saw the same patterns that they were using in 2005 in order with the pandemic that was happening in 2005 around bird flu, the same patterns that they had used all since 2005 forward. For the different pandemics, including COVID, and and it was just over. So I decided to interweave the old history with the current history. What happened back in 2005, all the Bush era politics, the creation of the PrEP Act, and show how that was 20 years ago, and people don't know about it, forgot about it, never put any emphasis on it, but showed how it became a template for what they have done for future pandemics. And so much of the PrEP Act was used during COVID to really shut down everybody. The Covered Countermeasure Injury Compensation Program was the thing that really, really got me going about how it's not funded. It doesn't have a table. All those people that filed VAERS reports, filed a injury compensation claim about their COVID injury with the wrong agency. They are all going to be thrown underneath the bus for a long list of reasons. So that was part of what got me going, was when I did the research for that. And I also looked at a progression of public health. It started with the Healthy People programs in 1980, which most of us in our circles, most people in our circles don't talk about that very much. That it started in 1980, and they had these goals set for every 10 years. And the first set of goals I think there were 6 or 7 of them, and they were really reasonable. They were things like stop smoking, wear a seatbelt, get some exercise, get some sleep, wear a helmet if you're we're going out on a motorcycle. And that these were goals that were set. And we have to keep in mind that in 1980, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have, everything was done by snail mail or by fax machines. And so all these things that they put this together, these goals, until 1990. Then in the 90s, we got the internet. And so they set a new set of goals from 1980 to 1990, 1990 to 2000, 2000 to 2010. And then the Healthy People 2020 goals were when all the vaccine things started to go into play. And now for the next decade, from 2020 to 2030, they've gone from 6 or 7 very doable, reasonable, health conscious goals for America to now they have 43 different platforms and 1,200 goals that they've set to harvest our data and our information from us. They have these things called social determinants of health, where they ask you all these really prying, nosy questions. And this is where doctors now want to talk to teenagers alone in the room without their parents and ask them things like, do you feel safe at home?
Yeah.
Do you have a gun at home? What happens with when your parents argue? Has anyone tried to hurt you? And all these things all go into the electronic medical record. So there's a whole section a whole chapter that I wrote on tracking, surveillance, and the global vaccination agenda, the weaponization of public health and of our American system, starting with Medicare in 1963, and then later in the implementation of electronic medical records. And I tied it all together in this book and put it in a way that it's readable. Everybody that's read it tells me that it reads like a suspense thriller.
Love that.
And it's like a page turner. They don't want to put it down. It's packed with information. I talk about adjuvants and vaccine problems. And so there's just a ton of things in there, but the weaponization of our healthcare system and how it came out of 2005 with the passage of the Medicare Act in 2005 by Bush, and then the PrEP Act, and how it's all rolled into what's happening now. And that's sort of the core of why I put this all together, so people could see it as a one big picture rather than just a bunch of little silos.
I love this. I love this. And coincidentally, the strangest phenomenon, because it's your title is Zero Accountability in a Failed System, yet most all the people that have been in office through all the things that you just said are still there. And they never, ever, the public never gets angry enough to get them out of office. There's always this consistency of the same dinosaurs in office through all of those changes that you just talked about, all those, that implementation of all these things. And this is why we never get we have zero accountability. We're always talking about accountability. It never happens, right? Ever.
And that's why we came up with the title about zero accountability, because this isn't just, we frequently talk about present day zero accountability, like with Fauci and Birx and Bill Gates and places like that. And that's where a lot of focus, but this zero accountability has been going on for decades. I mean, think about the Clintons, the Clinton Foundation, all the stuff that happened with Bush 1, Bush 2, all the Obama care and the Obama people that nothing happened. Now all the Biden and all the stuff that happened in that administration that we still don't know who was really pulling the strings,
right?
And who was operating that automatic pen, who was actually in charge of that, So there is no accountability, and it goes back a very long way. We just filed 3 or 4 days ago. Well, I think it was at the end of last week, got officially filed. The disinformation dozen, that I was named one of those people.
Oh, yes,
the disinformation dozen during the COVID, and we just filed a pretty compelling lawsuit. Good. It's been posted on the internet, so I can talk about it. That talks about all the violations of First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments, actually in torturous interference with contracts, and it was all done by. We've got copies of emails and letters that actually went back and forth between the tech companies and the Biden administration that specifically named us and targeted us. And when all this stuff happened, I got one of the things that happened. Not only did I get wiped out over 2 million followers on all my social media platforms, I got permanently banned from PayPal, which I could never figure out until I read it in this lawsuit. That at the time when all this stuff was going on, that the Biden administration wanted to shut down all of this contrarian conversation, pointing out, don't do this with these shots. There were 18 people in Congress that signed a letter that went to the big tech companies banning us from PayPal.
Amazing.
And some of them are still in Congress. So there's another level of no accountability. And I didn't know this. The congressman that submitted it, and then had 18 bipartisan signers on this letter to shut us down and to choke out our ability to earn a living.
Isn't that amazing?
I didn't know that, but they're still around. Nobody's been held
gosh.
accountable for that yet. And that's what we're trying to do with this lawsuit.
I know we have a few minutes before we go to our first break, but the measles campaign, the fear campaign, you have got to just be laughing behind all of this. Like, you've got to be kidding me with this measles campaign. They're really pushing hard. They're trying.
It's just a weaponization of a concept.
Yeah.
It really is not, has nothing to do with the measles. It has, last year in 2024, there were 14 measles outbreaks across the country.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't hear about any of them. And there's more that there were something like 109 outbreaks of measles across Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard any of it. We have this one little outbreak going on in Texas, and they're just doing this to take Robert F. Kennedy's ears and pin them to a board. That's all.
It just always fascinates me. I think it was last week. It was the screwworm, the screwworm fly. It's going to eat your flesh off. I mean, there's always something, and I'm sure there's going to be something. They're not over yet with, something to come. I think, I don't know, but I do want to ask you about what you think comes next with the medical cabal, because they're always up to something. They've got something up their sleeve because they're so busy having these Zoom meetings, especially next week, where we're going to let the public in and we're going to be talking about how to reformulate the shots. And I thought, oh no, what does that reformulation mean?
Well, and with all the stuff that's going on right now with the World Health Organization treaty and the sharing of these libraries of virus things so they can share them with anybody all over the world, so nobody can pinpoint where these outbreaks actually come from.
Right.
It's nefarious, and they are not giving up.
We're going to go to break, but what's your Substack?
My Substack is drtenpenny.substack.com. And the last 3 weeks were really powerful. People should really go and read them.
Dr. Tenpenny.
drtenpenny.substack.com.
Okay, I'll be right back. More with Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. Don't go anywhere. And the book is Zero Accountability in a Failed System. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Oh, she's happy as can be, you know she said so.
All right, I feel fine. Okay, well, welcome back to the Kate Dalley Show, brought to you by Canyon Media Studios. Patriot Radio is hosting the show nationwide. And of course, I have Dr. Sherri Tenpenny with me, and the book is Zero Accountability in a Failed System. This is, you got to get this one. It's insane. Some of the things I've been witnessing. We are going to talk about what's coming and where we're at right now, where we're truly at, because nothing's being talked about. But I first wanted to get your take on the Surgeon General pick of Casey Means. Sherri.
I don't think we have long enough to really talk about that. The biggest problem that I see with, the obvious things, she didn't finish her residency. She's not a licensed physician. How can she be in a position as Surgeon General without being a licensed physician and supervise the entire, public health service corps of 6,000 physicians who are required to have a practicing license to be able to become one of those physicians. So I think there's a lot of problems, and all of her connections that, Naomi Wolf uncovered with the deep connections to deep state in tech. I think that's a real problem. But I think the biggest problem with all of that is it's one more division within the health freedom movement. The health freedom movement has its problems. And we frequently forget that we need to join together because the enemy's over there.
Right.
And we end up at the circular firing squad and end up shooting each other.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that.
I just really feel like of the 1.1 million physicians that exist in this country, there were a lot better choices. Yeah. And I feel like this was a choice by her brother, not by RFK, maybe not even by Trump. I mean, because Trump said, I've never met her. I've never met her. Bobby thought she was great. And so I just appointed her.
Okay. You mentioned the PrEP Act. This is what gave total legal immunity. Did you want to make a few comments on the PrEP Act itself?
Well, the PrEP Act was, created in 2005, and it was a complete liability protection for the pharmaceutical companies, particularly in the event of an emergency. It was the level above and multiple stronger than the 1986 Childhood Vaccine Injury Compensation Act. That protected the vaccines if they were on the pediatric schedule. This gives protection to covered countermeasures that they just define as a covered countermeasure, which can be anything from an aspirin and a Band-Aid to remdesivir, to any of the shots, to all of the tests, to all of the tests that they did, to people being on the ventilators. Everything was covered. And so there is and they violated 2 federal laws to release that. I'm sorry, they divided 2 laws, FDA laws, in order to release the bioweapon under the EUA, because they, to do an emergency use authorization, you're supposed to have nothing else that's available to treat you with. The thing that you're trying to get to fast track for release has to be less dangerous than the actual infection itself, which we know in retrospect it wasn't. And at the moment, we had no long-term data, so we couldn't make that determination. And yet they released it anyways. And then they did that partially because they have this incredible umbrella over top of them, that the only way that you can sue the pharmaceutical industry, the government, or under the PrEP Act, is that you have to improve willful misconduct. You have to prove that they did things willfully and neglectfully, and you have to get the Surgeon General. I'm sorry, not the Surgeon General, the Attorney General on your side to agree with you that they did this with willful misconduct in order to sue them. So the Attorney General has to come to bat with you against the pharmaceutical industry to prove that they did something to try to intentionally harm you, or you can't do anything about it. Nothing. There's nothing at all. Nothing at all.
They sure have that failed system just all done and ready. I mean, it just never ceases to amaze me what happens and then what doesn't happen afterwards, no matter what we're talking about. We're going to come back. We'll talk more about the shots, the placebos, the just kind of where we're at really in general with the shots, and maybe things that they've got planned. More with Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. The book is Zero Accountability in a Failed System. And be right back. Don't go anywhere. KateDalleyRadio.com. Be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Reaching out on those, and I can't wait to get those out. They're all done by various topics, and you can grab those in printed form or digital form. And it's like my notes, my research, everything. I mean, 40,000 hours, you can imagine there's a lot of it. And I so appreciate that. And also FIQsupplements.com is where I get my supplements. FIQsupplements.com. They are the best. I love their stuff because I can actually feel it working. Whereas you go over the counter, you're never going to get that. You're going to be, if you go over the counter, you're at Walgreens or Walmart or whatever, you're going to be getting I don't know, I call it junk, but you can call it whatever you want. I would go to fiqsupplements.com because they've got the best ingredients that absorb into your body. Use the code Kate and you'll get like 15% off. So you get a discount and their prices are fantastic. And I just love them. fiqsupplements.com. All right. Welcome back. I've got Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. The book is Zero Accountability in a Failed System. What is your Substack again?
I do 2 Substacks a week. My main Substack is drtenpenny.substack.com. And the Substacks that I've done in the last week, in the last couple of weeks, the one that I did on Saturday was called Vaccine Lessons for Senators. And it was pretty hard. They're pretty hard hitting. And the week before that, I wrote about ignoring the elephant in the room when we were talking about the appointee for the Surgeon General and doing everything about, Fruit Loops and taking food dyes out, but ignoring the fact that children get 28 vaccines by the time they're 1 year of age.
Amen.
So I wrote that. And then the week before that was on gene therapy, which is really genetic modification. And it's a pretty lengthy piece that I do the historical backdrop because that word has always bothered me since the beginning of 2020, that they called this a gene therapy. Because therapy is generally something that's good for you, like speech therapy, physical therapy, art therapy, there's different things. So I thought, where did that come from? So I researched it and I went back into the 1930s when they started doing genetic modification, and they were starting to do genetic modification of humans and calling them GMO changes of humans. This was got really heavy into talking about that in the 1990s. And then people were really revolting and pushing back. So they changed that phrase to gene therapy because it sounded nicer. Yeah. And it took away the direct hit that what they were doing was genetically modifying humans by these transitional insertions. And so I kind of wrote the history out about that and what this whole thing is the whole gene therapy stuff is all about. So that for your listeners, every time now that you hear the phrase gene therapy, equate it in your brain to genetic modification of humans. Is what that is.
Yeah. Genetic modification, the changing of humans. It's like the Patriot Act. There's nothing patriot about it. Everything is oppositeville when it comes out of the government spigot. So talk about placebos, talk about shots and where we're at with all of it and what you think happens, what's coming down the pike. What do you think? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but it would be good to get sort of, what you've been analyzing.
Well, the whole issue with placebo is that it's a big deal because most of like your audience, my audience, the bigger health freedom audience, they all know what the definition of placebo is. It's the comparing something to something that is totally inert and not biologically active. That by definition is a placebo. So we've been training people over the last 20 years to know and to understand that in a vaccine trial, there's never been any vaccine that's been tested against a true placebo, which is just a shot of sterile water or something like that. It's taking one vaccine, like a new rotavirus vaccine, which is an oral vaccine, and the placebo was exactly the Rotarix vaccine minus the virus. So it's exactly the same. So they're not even calling it a placebo anymore. They're calling it a comparator. They're comparing the results of the new vaccine against an already existing vaccine that has been labeled as safe and effective. So we're not testing to see for safety anymore. We're testing for convenience and whether or not it has the same side effects. And so that happened in 2013 in terms of the scientific research, and it's gotten worse. And I'm really concerned that all of this big push on gold standard science, and what we're going to do is trying to introduce these new mRNA vaccines, or the platform of the saRNA, when the SA stands for self-amplifying, which is even worse than the mRNA. And they're going to try to use that as the new vaccine, and they're going to compare it against the existing, say, hepatitis B or Prevnar or MMR, hepatitis A, any of those sorts of things as a comparator. And when this list of side effects are the same, they'll say the new vaccine, the new mRNA vaccine is just as safe as the old one, but it's faster to make, it's cheaper, it's cleaner. They'll put all these superlatives around it as a way to get that into our system, which will totally destroy the human race. Really. And I say that it sounds rather sensational and kind of, sensational to say that. But we know what the mRNA vaccines have done to humanity already, what it is doing to the reproductive tract, and what it's doing to dropping the fertility rate all over the world. And we're not going to have any humans left if we continue to allow this to happen.
The CEO of Pfizer, when asked about all the heart issues, all the things, the deaths going on now, and dialing it down to, we were just more aware. We're just more aware now. We're just diagnosing now. It was just smoking and drinking that has led to all the cancer and heart attacks. My jaw dropped. But they're starting to pressure the shingles vaccine, the pneumonia vaccine, all of these different shots, especially on our elderly people. What are your thoughts on all these new shots that they have? Is it all the same thing, just a different label?
Well, the shingles vaccine is the first vaccine that we've created to address a problem caused by vaccines. When we started using the chickenpox vaccines in 1995, the chickenpox virus, the only known host is humans. So what the chickenpox vaccine did was stopped transmission. And if you weren't transmitting that virus to the next person, if it didn't propagate to the next person, it sort of died off. Right. And that's why we don't see chickenpox anymore. But the problem is that the viruses still existed, and they became dormant in the nerve tracts around our spinal cords. And how we as adults maintained our long-term immunity after having chickenpox was getting re-exposed to kids and grandkids and kids at church, kids in the community that had chickenpox that would re-stimulate our immune system. Well, since that's not happening anymore, now we're getting these outbreaks of shingles, which is a extremely painful long-lasting condition that we used to only see in cancer patients or people that were severely immunosuppressed or long-standing elderly diabetics. And now we're seeing it in everybody. And the thing is that it has 8 times more virus in it than the chickenpox vaccine does. And it really is only about 50-50 in terms of effectiveness if you're in your 60s. If you're in your 70s, that drops down to maybe 25%. And if you're in your 80s, it doesn't work at all. And those are from unpublished studies of research that found that. But yet we are injecting all this toxic stuff into the elderly that we really seem to make them a target between the COVID shots, the shingle shots, the pneumonia shots, whatever else is coming down the pike to make them sick and, make them kill them off, I guess.
Right. And just like the water going out in a tsunami before it comes back in force, I know we're going to go to a break in about 30 seconds, but it's getting, and we'll talk about this when we come back and finish up today's show, but it's very, I just have a sense of alarm going on that we are ready. They're getting us ready for something very big because they're not done with this medical arena any way, shape, or form. Yes? Agree? Don't agree?
Yeah, totally agree. I've said this for a while now that we're not hearing much about it. Nobody's really hyping things about it. They've tried to turn the fear crank a couple of times. It hasn't worked because this is the inhale before the next big exhale.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to come right back. Dr. Sherri Tenpenny joins me. Zero Accountability in a Failed System is her new book. And of course, get that. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show, katedalleyradio.com. Be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
think she's about 150 years old now. But she looks 10. So there you go. Interesting. Anyway, welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. And of course, go to the website, share, and share these podcasts. And of course, make sure that you go to mypillow.com as well. The code is Kate. The Father's Day slippers, you might want to do the slippers. They are amazing. And you get a huge discount on them by using the code Kate. And they're to die for. You can wear them to the store even. They're just awesome. So lots of styles too. mypillow.com. And of course, I have Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. The book is Zero Accountability in a Failed System. Of course, go to her Substack. And let's talk about what you see coming down. And I know there is no crystal ball, Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, but I can't wait to just sort of get your assessment of the future.
Well, it's they're just not going to give up. I mean, I prove that in my book that it actually started in the late 1700s with all of the censorship things that happened then, all of the quarantine things. It's my book does a lot of backdrop in terms of history, and it brings it up to the present tense and how we have had big blowback against smallpox vaccination and all of these vaccines from the very inception. In fact, the first mandatory vaccination laws were in the UK in 1863. And at the same time, the first anti-vaccine chapters were formed called Our Baby's Battle. And so we have been fighting against this pharmaceutical industry ever since vaccines and fighting against the vaccine thing ever since the vaccines first started. In the late 1700s is when they were first developed. Jenner's thing was in 1799. But since the mid 1800s, we've been fighting to protect our children from being injected with all of this foreign matter from the very beginning.
Right.
So I just say that in terms of this has been an ongoing battle with the pharmakeia and what they're trying to do to capture us. And we are just something that they just tinker with. So I think that, having people be really aware and fighting with the health freedom movements, and taking steps to be active in your local communities and in your local chapters is so important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's interesting. We're seeing some of these things come out and hey, this is a win. This is a win. But I'm not seeing anything that's taking out the structure of surveillance. So do you want to comment on that?
Well, the structure of surveillance is getting worse. It's not taking it out.
Exactly.
I mean, between the real ID and the retinal scans and, the implantable chips that have been around, that also came around the same time as the PrEP Act started. There was one of the first companies was called VeriChip. And it was by Tommy Thompson out of Pennsylvania that he was on the board of that after he had been Secretary of HHS. And it was, all of those VeriChip was the first implantable ID chip that companies started using, that they could get it implanted and you would scan it across the door, and that's how you got into your place of employment in the morning. So this again has been coming for 25 years. It's just been it's so incremental along the way, and they plan all of these things to distract us. You've got all of the virtual reality things, all the stuff on the computers, all the apps and downloadable playable games on your phone. All that stuff takes up all of your time. And it's not even necessarily bad. It's just completely time consuming. And so it makes us take our eye off the ball.
Yeah. What's in the water? I want to know what's in the water, making us very complacent, where everyone, no matter what we see, no matter what we see coming at us, no matter what nefarious thing that happens, and you think, okay, now people are finally going to get upset. And we're just complacent as hell. We just keep going. And it's, unity. Oh, just get along. Oh, let's move forward together. Let's just move forward. Let's just move past that. And I'm so tired of that. And like you, I'm seeing this big surveillance, digital tyranny coming. And it seems as though, of course, our medical will be tied up with that. The structure of not being able to move much, sort of in traction because of the digital surveillance. So this is coming in huge quantities. And you talk about this too. It's all about having this network be applied to us, but nobody's really fighting it. And even with Real ID, they never had to come up with something as a reason to get Real ID. There's no reason for Real ID, but nobody's fighting it.
I know. And, one of my favorite pieces that was written by a really good friend of mine who's deceased now.
Yeah.
He wrote this back in about 2004 or 5. And the title of the piece that he wrote, he was the editor of the Idaho Observer for years, Don Harkins. And this piece that he wrote was called Americans Are Dying for Martial Law.
Wow.
And he wrote it from the perspective of Congress yelling at people saying, won't you please do something, so that we can institute martial law. We've stolen your freedoms. We've poisoned your food. We've killed your children in unnecessary wars. We've done all of these things, and you just kind of let us do it. And I really think that that's part of the problem. We have let our government, we've let the tail wag the dog for far, far too long.
Yeah.
And unless we kind of get it and do what we can to fight back against that. I was just talking to another friend of mine this morning who spends most of her time, she lives in Europe, and she comes to America for about a month or so in the spring and a month or so in the fall. She's an American. And she said that, Europe is far advanced beyond us in terms of their freedoms. We think that we are the most free country in the world, and we're probably one of the most contained and surveilled country anywhere in the world.
Interesting.
And I think it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse with the World Health Organization is continually pushing this pandemic treaty.
Right.
And I know that some states have actually passed rules saying it's not, if they do get it passed, it's not applying here.
Yeah.
And what if it's going to be tough to enforce it? There's at least 4 or 5, there's at least 5 states who have said the real ID doesn't apply in this state, which I think is kind of interesting. Because it may not apply, let's say, in the state of Tennessee, or, but how does that work if you get on an airplane?
Right. Yeah.
And if you fly to LAX and then you try to get on the plane in California to come back, and they are requiring you to have a real ID to get on a plane. So I don't know, it's very complicated. And I just really want to encourage people. That's what the last chapter of my book is called Tying It All Together, the Activist Playbook. And it really it doesn't tell people what to do, but it gives them a lot of things to think about.
Good.
About where are we going to go from here? And are you going to let the same thing? I just spent 390 pages telling you this horrible story about all these things that they've done to us. And we put it all together in a way that makes it readable and digestible. And are we going to let it happen again? And so it leaves readers with some ideas of some things to do on the local level to really get involved.
Excellent. Thank you, Sherri. And of course, Zero Accountability in a Failed System. Thank you so much for joining me. She talks about the flu in her book. She talks about all kinds of things. You're going to want to get this, some good summer reading for sure. Really appreciate you, Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. And of course, be faithful, be fearless. And I will be back on tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow.